I'm going to be hosting another KAL. I should really learn to count my stitches. That's the one whip I think I'm going to frog. Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde. I'm a French knitter, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for joining again. I really appreciate it. This week I'm filming a regular podcast episode, so I'm going to talk about finished objects, some whips, and some new acquisitions and future plans. If you've watched one of my videos before, you may probably notice that I'm not in my usual locations with my beautiful bookshelves, and that's because I'm on holidays for a week. So I'm at my grandma's house in Brittany, which is going to be really lovely. I'm very excited to be here and to relax for a bit. Unfortunately, the weather isn't going to be very nice. It was sunny this morning, but now it's starting to, rain a little bit. So hopefully the artificial lighting that I've got going on isn't too distracting, and is going to help you see what I'm going to show you. But yeah, I'm planning on filming at least one more video whilst I'm here, and I hope the weather is going to cooperate a little bit. But also just because I really want to go on some walks and enjoy the countryside. So yeah, I think it's supposed to rain all week, but we'll see. Anyway, that was a tangent. So I'm going to talk about this, which is a finished object that I finished on the previous podcast, but it wasn't blocked, and now it is. So I'm going to talk just briefly about it, and then I've got one other finished object, and then some whips, some that you've seen, some that you haven't, one whip that will be frogged, and some acquisitions and future plans. So let's get started, because I don't know how long this is going to be. So let's talk maybe about the Sandro Pullover first. This is what I'm wearing. This is the Sandro Pullover by Knitting Flem over here on YouTube and Instagram. She's just released this, so when I'm filming, she released it yesterday on Friday, so go check it out. It's an amazing design. I really love it. It's a very oversized, kind of boxy fit, drop shoulder or European shoulder construction cabled design. If you've never knit cables before, this is quite a good one to start, because you only cable every 14th row, so quite mindless. It's just one type of cable, very easy. However, if you've never knitted before, or if you've only knitted a few jumpers without any German short row shaping, I would say maybe don't do that one, because it does have a lot of German short rows, and if you're not confident with trying on short row shaping and cables, like if both of those techniques are your first time, it might just be a little bit tricky for the shoulder shaping. Then it's quite breezy and easy, but just for the beginning. I really love this one. You can see it really relaxed a lot. I'll put up a video of me trying it on before and after blocking, and hopefully you'll see how much it relaxed. I knitted this in Gynt by Sandnes Garn in the colorway Poppy, which is 4008. It's a great yarn. It's really lovely. I don't find it itchy. I do find, however, that it peels a lot. So I've worn this quite a lot already, and I've already kind of de-peeled it, and you can see like on my sleeve that, yeah, it peels a lot. So that's fine. I think next time, if I want to try some Gynt again, I might try holding it with a Mohair just to see how it wears compared to that. This is my second jumper knitted in Gynt, held single, and both of those peel a lot, and I do find that quite a bit annoying. But I do like Gynt. But yeah, maybe next time I'll try it with a Mohair to see if I like that better. And since my gauge is usually tight anyways, like I had to go up 2 needle size for this one, so it's supposed to be knit on 4mm, and I think I went up to a 5mm needle, and it's not too see-through. I think it's fine. Oh, the sun is coming in a little bit. It's not too see-through, so I think that was okay for me to go up, but maybe holding it with the Mohair would make this even better for me when I usually have to knit a DK weight, like a DK pattern, but because I usually go up in size, holding it with a mohair would mean that the fabric is nicer, or like it's closer to what I would like as a finished result, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm really talking with my hands today, I'm sorry. So it's a European shoulder construction, so you start at the back, you have some German short reshaping in the back. Then once you've finished the back panel, you pick up for one shoulder, you have some German short reshaping on top of the shoulder, then you do the same thing for the other one, join under the neckline, and then once you finish the front panel, you join in the round and just knit in the round. And then for the sleeves, you pick up the stitches and you have some German short reshaping again on top of the sleeves. Actually, the sleeve is here, and then you just knit down. I will say my row gauge was off, so I notified the designer. This was a test knit. Did I mention? I think so. This was a test knit for Knitting Phlegm. My row gauge was off, so I told her about it. She said it was fine, just maybe if you come up across any difficulties regarding your row gauge, let me know. And I didn't really have any trouble regarding the pattern itself. However, for the decreases in the sleeves, I could either choose to rethink the number of decreases, or like recalculate the number of rows I would do between each decrease in order to do the total amount of decreases that the pattern is meant to have, or I could just knit the sleeve following the pattern's instructions. But because my row gauge is off and was, you know, I needed less rows to achieve the length, that meant that I had less decreases than is recommended in the pattern, and in order, like before the end of the sleeve. So basically I have less decreases in my sleeve, if that makes sense. So my sleeve is a little bit wider than what you're gonna have in the pattern if you have the right gauge and if you follow the instructions. I don't remember the number of decreases I ended up having, maybe like at least 3 less than in the pattern, but I really love how wide the sleeves is, and that's kind of what I wanted when I, you know, started the first sleeve. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do between the two options? And I thought I really like a wide sleeve, so I'll just go with that, and that way I can follow the pattern's instructions and see how that goes. And I think it was great. So yeah, I've worn this quite a bit already, like at least 5 times. And it's been like 2 weeks since I blocked it. 3 weeks actually. 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks. And I really love it. I will say the one thing I'm not like in love with is the neckline is quite wide. I haven't tried putting an elastic in, so maybe doing that will fix it, but I don't mind it when I don't wear anything underneath it. But as you can see, I'm wearing something black, which, like, this is a very long sleeved jumper, or like undershirt, but I don't love that you can see it here. And like, this one is black, it's kind of fine with the red, but sometimes I have like a green undershirt, long sleeved undershirt, and then you can see the green here, and the green and the red, that's not really my vibe. So that's like kind of the only thing that I would maybe do a little bit differently if I could, but it's fine, it works, and I love it. It just means I have to think a bit more about what I'm wearing underneath it to keep warm, but to not look too horrible either, if that makes sense. I've had a lot of compliments on it, and if you enjoy the shape, the construction, and the look of it, I highly recommend this pattern. This is Flaminia's first pattern, but it's absolutely amazing, so I highly recommend. So that was supposed to be the short version of me talking about this sweater, but apparently I've been rambling on for 10 minutes. But let's talk about my next finished object. And yes, I have finally finished my Cashmere Beanie by Gregoria Fibers. This has been a beanie on my needles since September, and I finished it like 2 weeks ago. I will say, I'm wanting to film a podcast every 2 weeks. I was supposed to film one last weekend, didn't have any energy, and I thought I would rather have more energy to film a podcast than just film it because I said I would. So I'm filming this on Saturday. I'm gonna try to upload it today or tomorrow. That means that the next podcast isn't gonna come in the next 2 weeks, or even I guess 3 weeks. I'm gonna film in 2 weeks so that I have like 2 weeks of knitting. So there should be videos next week and the week after that, but they won't be podcasts. They will be other content, which I'm excited to film too. Anyways, so yeah, finished this. I'm really happy about it. This is a half twisted rib beanie that I knitted using Classic by Cardiff Cashmere, which is 100% cashmere yarn. This is in the colorway Brown Natural. I do have some yarn left. Again, I'm not filming at home, so I didn't bring all of the things that I usually would, but I did bring quite a lot. But yeah, I've got 16 grams left of this yarn, which I'll probably try to use. Either I'll buy one more ball to like knit a tiny scarf, or knit maybe some mittens or something to go along with this. We'll see. That won't be anytime soon, but I will use the leftover yarn. This is a really lovely yarn. It's absolutely incredibly soft. I will say when you knit it, I don't know how many strands there are like twisted around it, maybe 2 or 3, and it means that or at least I catch the wrong strand sometimes and like kind of split the strand or like the yarn in half, and you can kind of see it sometimes. I think here, for example, that my stitches look a bit weird. Okay, 2 issues that I came across, or like 1 issue and 1 thing I don't like. This is a very long beanie, right? You knit all of this, and then you can probably tell that this isn't the same like kind of stitch as this. That's because you knit this half twisted rib, and then you do a German short row to turn your work, and then you continue knitting half twisted rib, but because you've made that, you know, that turn, this is kind of the wrong side, so that when you fold up the brim, you will see the half twisted rib. I've talked about this in my last knitting podcast, and yeah, I don't love that because when I fold it up, you can kind of see the wrong side. So I think maybe I should have just done full twisted rib, and then I wouldn't have had to do the turn, and even if the brim kind of falls down, you wouldn't see that kind of wrong side. So not in love with that. And then so I knitted all of this, and then I knitted like a bit less than recommended in the pattern. I think I knitted 2 centimeters less than I was supposed to before starting the decreases, and I counted my stitches to start the crown and like to put the stitch markers at the right place, and I had 2 more stitches than I was supposed to. But obviously I wasn't about to frog it all and restart this because it's taken me 4 months to knit this up. So I just kind of recalculated a tiny bit, but 2 stitches meant that I couldn't really do what I was supposed to do for the stitches, for the decreases to look the right way, because basically you have 3 stitches between each decrease, and you want it to be knit, purl, knit for like to shape this. And so if I was to change too much of the number of stitches in between each decrease, it would have kind of set up. Anyways, it's a little bit loop-sided. Is that what the word I'm looking for? Like, I think on one side I have obviously 2 more stitches than I'm supposed to, and so it's just, but I mean it's not too noticeable, it's just 2 stitches, but yeah, if it looks a bit weird, that's why. I'll put up a picture of me wearing it, and you can see that unlike the designer's picture, as I said, the beanie is much closer to my head than hers. I didn't want that much of a poof above my head, but I will say I should have maybe done 1 more centimeter before starting the decreases, but it's fine. I can still wear it, and I like it more, I think, than if I had more poof. So I think it's fine. I haven't worn it yet because it's a bit warmer now, but maybe here in Brittany when it's kind of cold and rainy I might wear it a little bit, which is why I've taken it with me. And I'll let you know how the yarn wears, but maybe not in the next few weeks. I don't know. It depends on if I wear it or not. But at the end of the year, I will definitely let you know. But it is a beanie, so it shouldn't get too much wear. Yeah, I think that's it. I think next time I do a beanie, I might choose like a worsted weight pattern or something, because this just takes me too long for the fact that it's such a small item and it's still taking me like 6 months. That's too much. So yeah, or I'll just have to try another pattern without such a long brim or something. Let's move on to whips. I've got some exciting progress because, as I've said, it's been 3 weeks since I filmed my last podcast. For you, it's been 2 weeks since you've seen it, but I usually record it a little bit before I upload it. But this time around, it's kind of you're seeing it in real life almost. So I'm going to talk about, I think that's my oldest whip, and it's the one that has had my focus, like the one I've focused the most on. So very excited to show you the progress. So this is my Charlie Pullover by Morecaknit. Ignore all of the ends that I still have to weave in, but I have finished the color and the shaping, and I am knitting in the round now, which is amazing. It finally looks like something. So this is, maybe I'll talk about the yarn first. I'm knitting this using Ulysse by Rerum Natura in the colorway Amarante. This is a sport weight yarn and I'm holding it with a mohair. This pattern is meant to be knit in a fingering and a mohair, but because my gauge is usually tight, I thought I would try using one of the yarns that is a bit thicker. So I'm holding a spot weight with the mohair instead of fingering and mohair. And then for the mohair, I'm using Knitting for Leaf Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Bordeaux. And I mean, yeah, maybe it's accurate colorway. The lighting is a bit weird because of the light that I've got going on, but I'll put a picture hopefully so that you can see how it actually looks. But I think they look gorgeous together and I'm really happy with them. The Ulysse is 100% wool and the soft silk mohair is 70% mohair, 30% silk, and I love this combination. This combo. I love using these yarns together, really love them. And my fabric is a little bit dense, so my gauge is, because I'm using sport and mohair and lace weights, I think I went up just half a needle size in the pattern, so I'm using 5mm. I think it's supposed to be maybe 4, but anyways, my gauge is a little bit dense, so I have 11 centimeters for the amount of stitches needed instead of the 10 centimeter I'm supposed to have. But I like the fabric and it's quite, yeah, you can see like it doesn't really drape. It's quite, you know, but that's kind of what I wanted. So yeah, and I did not swatch for the double knitting, and I think my gauge is a little bit off on that. I did the double knitting on 4mm instead of 3mm needle, and I think this here is supposed to be smaller than what I have for the amount of stitches, but I really like it anyway, so I don't think it's gonna bother me too much. This is a saddle shoulder construction, so you do have some saddle shoulder here. So maybe I'll talk just briefly about the construction before we go more into it. It's quite an unusual construction because and maybe you should look at my previous podcast to really understand it, because now that I've kind of finished the collar and the yoke, it's a bit tricky, I think, to understand if you've not seen how it looked before. But You start off with a Judy's Magic cast on, and you knit both sides of that Judy's Magic cast on in a round, which I think is this part here. Then you pick up stitches in between that magic cast on. So you've cast on here, and you knit here, and then you kind of pick up here again, which is like kind of, this is my stitches, this is my Judy's Magic cast on, and you pick up here to go this way, and that's how you get this, to knit this double knitting. And then you knit in double knitting, which you have some German short through shaping and some increases, which you can see here, the increases. And then you bind off that color using an Italian bind off. And then the thing that you casted on with the Judy's Magic cast on, you put on hold while you knitted whilst I knitted the color. So you pick that back up and you fold it down and knit it together, and then you start knitting the yoke with some German short throw shaping. Do you have German short throw shaping? Yeah, I think German short throw shaping and increases. So you kind of do raglan increases, but I guess not. You do increases, but you only ever increase around the saddle shoulder part, so that you always have the same number of stitches for that shoulder, instead of for raglan you would knit, or you would increase on like the outside of the shoulders and the inside of the shoulder, if that makes sense. So I loved that, and I loved understanding, like I couldn't really comprehend it whilst I was reading the pattern, but once I got into it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I don't know, I love how it looks. I think it looks really neat, and I'm really excited to start the sleeve to see how it looks when you like pick up the stitches and stuff. I will say the hole for the sleeve is quite big, but I haven't tried it on since I joined in the round, so I'll do that. I mean, maybe you'll see that now, but I will try it on, maybe film it, so you can see my full reaction and include it here. I almost forgot to try this on for you guys, but I'm gonna try it on. So many ends. So many ends. Okay. I've put the camera here, but I think it's a bit too low, but I mean, this is very low. Okay. I love it. Oh, I really, really like it. It's quite oversized, I will say. I think it's way, like, maybe not way more, but it's, I think, I'm sorry for the light, but the sun is in here. I think it's a bit more oversized than the pattern suggests. I'll check and put it on the screen if I'm like way off in terms of positive ease. Like I think there's quite a like wide armhole, but I think I'm gonna love it. Excuse the fact that my yarn is in my, yeah. Oh, I really like this. I mean, I think my body is gonna be very short though, but we'll see. I really like this. I think it looks great. Yay! But I haven't done that yet. And yeah, then once you've done that, once you've finished like the increases around the saddle shoulder part, you put the stitches on hold for the back and for one of the shoulders, then you do, I think it was this one first, you do this, like the front panel of one side first with some increases, then you pick up again some stitches in double knitting that you had put on a hold here, and you do this bit, and then you do the same thing for the other side. And once you've done those two like front edges, then you join here under the neckline and you join these two together. So like one is overlapping the other and they're joined together, and it's really, really neat. I really enjoyed that. And then once you finish the front panel with the increases for the armhole, then you join in the round, which is what I've done, and I've got this much. The stitch marker that you see here, can you see that? That's last night when I went into the train to come here to Brittany. This was a 3-hour train journey. I didn't knit like the 3 hours, I knitted maybe 2.5 hours, and then I knitted like 1 hour this morning, and that's the amount of progress I've done. So I've done, like, I hadn't joined in around yet. When I came into the train, I joined in around in the train, and then I've got maybe like 5 centimeters in total, and I think I've got like 3 centimeters under the armhole for the body. And it's growing quite quickly, and I'm off of work for a week, so I'm not gonna lie, but I'm kind of hoping to finish this sweater. Maybe that's too much. If I can finish the body and finish one sleeve, or like start a sleeve, I'll be happy with that. But I'm kind of hoping that I can finish this entirely, maybe. But I do want to do some other knitting, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm very excited. I love how it's looking. I forgot to say, I should really learn to count my stitches. So I had that issue with the beanie, which I've talked about, and then I had the issue for this one, which I talked about in my last podcast, that I had cast on my stitches, and I had done that whole Judy's Magic cast on and the different panel, and then when it came to picking up stitches for the double knitting color, I realized that I was 10 stitches, I had 10 stitches fewer than what I should have. That was already my second time casting this on, because I had tried earlier in December, and still I think I had done the Judy's Magic cast on wrong that time. But yeah, that was my second time casting this on, and the start of this pattern is quite tricky and fiddly, so I was like, oh, I really don't want to start again, really don't want to. And I read further down the pattern, and at one point it said something like, you know, knit two together, like all of the stitches basically. And I was like, oh, I just read that quickly, and I was like, I'm just gonna do like fewer decreases and that'll be fine. But I didn't realize that those knit two together was to fold down this bit so that you can then start the yoke. And I had to do all of the knit two togethers in order to, I don't know if I'm making sense. Anyway, I couldn't really do what I had in my mind, and I didn't end up having fewer stitches than what I should have. So what I ended up doing is I cast on, or like I increased some stitches here on the back panel, like before those shoulders. It's a bit hard to show with just one hand, but here on this side I added 5 stitches more, and then 5 stitches here, which were the 10 that I was missing. And so I think it kind of looks a bit bunched up because of that. But it's in the back. There's going to be the folded down color on top of that, and maybe blocking will fix this. But yeah. 1, I have to learn to count my stitches, and 2, if I don't have the right number of stitches and I realize that, and I'm still quite early on in the process of knitting that pattern, I should frog and do it again. Because I don't know how this is going to look in the end. Am I going to be too bothered by it? maybe not like too bothered, but a tiny bit bothered, because that's just a stupid mistake to make. Anyways, I'm excited to keep working on that, and I'll try it on afterwards, and I hope it looks good, but I'm sure it will. So that was my primary focus of the past 3 weeks. Then I think my next cast on, maybe I'm getting the order wrong, but I think the next cast on were the Matilda Mittens. Now, I don't have this with me, but I'll put up some pictures and everything. That's the one whip I think I'm gonna frog. So, I got this yarn and this pattern for free because I want to give away on Instagram. This pattern and the yarn is from Bûches, which is a French company. And I've always wanted to try their yarn, so I was really excited to win this giveaway and try out their Le Petit Lambswool. I chose the colors for this, which was Bordeaux gris, Burgundy grey, and Ecru, I think. Don't remember what it's called in English, but I'll put it on the screen, and as always, everything is linked down below. So yeah, I got that yarn, and I got the pattern, which is the Matilda Mittens. It's a colorwork mitten, which I wanted to do some modifications to. And I had, in my previous podcast, I talked about it, cast them on, but the size was too big. And so I frogged and decided to knit at least 1 or 2 sizes down. And I did that, started again, did the Latvian braid modification, which is what I wanted to do, and started the colorwork, and the size is still too big, and the colorwork is a little bit see-through. Granted, I haven't gone too deep into the pattern, so maybe if I kept going, like, it wouldn't be as see-through. But I feel like for colorwork mittens, you don't want the gauge to be too open because you want it to be warm. So I think I know I'm gonna put this aside for this season. I may try again like in the summer or in fall before winter, so that I can hopefully figure out like which needle size I'm gonna use and which size of the pattern I'm doing. Maybe I'll go down in needle size, but I think I'm just gonna have to make a gauge swatch. I didn't want to do it because I'm lazy, and because for mittens or like small project I really don't want to do gauge swatches. But I think for this one I'm gonna have to if I want to have a result that I enjoy. So I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna do that in a few months. So I'm putting this aside. I really wanted to work on this. I really loved the colorwork. I was really excited to learn new techniques, but I just don't have the right headspace for that right now, for like that amount of rethinking. And also it's the end of winter. I'm not gonna wear this anytime soon, so I think I'm just better off putting this off until a little bit later in the year. So yeah, so I guess I'll talk about what I cast on instead, to kind of, because these were supposed to be like mindful small projects that I could grab and like easily take with me on the subway or in a meeting or something, even though it's color work. Maybe that wouldn't have been the best idea, but anyways. So I'll show you my newest cast on, I guess, instead of the other whip that I've got. So I cast on a pair of socks. I bought this yarn, which is Filcolana Vera, in the colorway, I think it's Chinese red, and it's 218. I guess I'm in a bit of a red kick, but I bought these a while ago. I want to say like at least 5 months ago, and I wanted to make the Maine Coast Summer Socks, or Maine Summer Coast Socks. No, I think it's Maine Coast Summer Socks by Summerly Designs, which is what I cast on. So this is what I've got. This is a cabled design, and I mean obviously it's cabled, so it's not, you know, very mindless, but I have 2 stockinette projects on the needles at the moment, the Charlie Pullover and the other one that I'm going to mention. And so I wanted a small project that I could easily grab, but also that wouldn't be stockinette, just to have something texture and a little bit different to what I have as main projects. And I really love how these are looking. I mean, the lighting isn't great, but love the cable. Couple of things to mention. The pattern suggests that you use a 2.75mm needles. I don't have a 2.75mm needle either in like with long cables or even short circulars. I do have some 2.5mm needles in both like these and tiny circulars like these. And I also have 3mm needles that I could use. I usually have a tight gauge, as I mentioned, but I didn't want to go to a 3mm needle for a pair of socks because I didn't want my stitches to be too see-through. Which I feel like even with 2.5 they are a tiny bit like, no, I think it's fine, but you know, I know some people like their socks to be much tight or like much tighter, but I didn't want to go down to a 2.25mm needle. First of all, I don't think I have any needles like that on that size, but also because I was already going down in size and my feet are quite big, so I needed to go already to the biggest size in the pattern. So I think there's 4 sizes. I think there's a small, medium, large and extra large, and I was supposed to do the large if my gauge was right, but because I went down a needle size, I'm doing an extra large. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope this is gonna fit me because I haven't tried it on, but I think they're quite stretchy, so I think they're gonna be fine. And I started the heel. So I've started the heel quite soon. I think you're supposed to do like 15 centimeters of the leg, but I wanted this to be just a little bit shorter, like something for spring and summer to wear with cute baskets. And yeah, so I shortened this. Don't know how long it is, and I've started the heel, which is a heel flap and gusset. So I'm on the first, like I'm on the heel flap, but yeah, I'm really loving it. And honestly, because I've shortened this, it's going quite quickly already. But I'm not gonna focus too much on these this week, I think, because yeah, I mean, maybe I'll finish the heel and that way I can just knit kind of mindlessly whilst I'm in a meeting or something when I get back to work. But yeah, it's an easy project. I will say that cabling on socks isn't the most fun. I am using a cable needle for that, which is a very small cable needle that I have. I think it's supposed to be like 3mm needle. I'm just putting the stitches on hold whilst I cable, and then when I put them back on my 2.5mm needle to knit them. Just because that's the way I cable. But I know you can cable from this, but that usually, yeah, that kind of doesn't work for me. I did want to try to cable without a cable needle, but I do not want to lose my stitches, so I'm not doing that. Anyways, that's it for my small mindful project. And then last podcast I showed you, I casted on my boyfriend's zipper sweater, Light Man by Petit. So I'll talk about the yarn first. It is another the Rerum Natura yarn. This one is Gilead, which is again 100% wool. It is in the colorway Merlot, and this is 250 meters for 100 grams. So I think this is like a worsted weight yarn, and it's very lovely. It's quite soft and squishy, and I love knitting with this. You're gonna have to excuse all of the cat hair because it does, however, attract all of my cat's hair, and I don't have like the thing I usually use at home where I can remove the hair quickly. Don't know what that's called. And so yeah, this is very, maybe you can't really see it, But yeah, this is the progress that I've got. So in the last podcast, I had started the color and I was almost ready to finish it. And since then, removing the cat hair. Since then, so basically you knit a very long ribbing, 1x1 ribbing, and then you fold it down, kind of like the Charlie pullover, and knit 2 together. So because you fold it down, you knit together 1 stitch from here and 1 stitch from here to kind of close it up, and then you do the German short row shaping with raglan increases. Hopefully you can see how that looks. I am using a worsted weight yarn for a DK weight pattern because my gauge is tight. I swatched using, I think, 5mm needle and 6mm needle maybe, and I wanted to see the fabric and everything, and my partner and I both liked the fabric of this one better, and it reached the gauge for the DK weight version, so that's the one I ended up going for instead of the regular zipper sweater man that Petit has, which is, I think, supposed to be knit with the worsted or even iron weight yarn. But yeah, really love this fabric, love the stitch definition. Like, look how neat this is and even. This is incredible. Even the ribbing, like my ribbing usually isn't that beautiful if I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, really love that. And I have almost finished. So I finished the German short row shaping, but I'm almost done with the raglan increases. And I have joined just under, ignore, I'm using leftover Gynt for this, and it's really ugly. But I have joined under the zipper, where the zipper is gonna go. So I mean, I've not done a lot. I've done like maybe 2 rounds. So I'm knitting in the round now, but I have to do a couple more raglan increases before I can split for sleeves, I think. But I'm really excited to do that, and I mean, it's growing quite quickly. It's quite addictive. I think I'm going to focus more on my Charlie pullover this week, but I would like to at least maybe finish the raglan increases. I will say, however, now I do have a lot of stitches, so it is going by a little bit slower. So I'm excited to split for sleeves, that way I will have less stitches, and I think it's going to still go quite quickly. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say on the zipper sweater light man. But I'm loving it so far. So, if I've not forgotten anything, which hopefully I haven't, we're going to move on to the acquisitions. But just before, I realized I forgot to tell you that for the Sandro Pullover, I used 12 skeins of Peer Gynt, and I do have 3 skeins left over. And like I started using the 12th skein, but I've still got like maybe 20 grams left. But I used about 12 skeins for size 3. Yeah. So, exciting acquisitions. I wasn't really supposed to buy anything this month. Not because of any other reason than just me wanting to, but obviously failing to use up my stash yarn. However, there is one project on my Make 9 for which I didn't have the yarn, and then I fell in love with another design which I, again, do not have the yarn in stash for. So there was, or there still is actually, a discount code that you can use on the Knitting for Olive website, that if you buy 5 skeins you get 1 free, and you can do that 3 times. So you can buy 15 skeins and get 3 free. So that's what I did, because I could. So the code, I mean, this isn't sponsored or anything. I just saw this. I was, what's the word? Like, I saw the ad on Instagram for the code, and I was like, I'm gonna grab that. And also I had a gift card to use on the Knitting for Olive website, so I wanted to use it. Anyway, so I bought some yarn I'll talk about the one that I am not going to cast on soon, just because I'm already using 5mm for both projects. So for the Charlie Pullover and the Zipper Sweater Light Man, I'm using 5mm needles. I do technically have 2 sets of needles, but I'm only really using my Mindful Knit Pro, I think it's Knit Pro Mindful Collection metal ones, and the other one I have is Knit Pro like wooden ones, and I just don't love knitting with wooden needles anymore. I could, but I just choose not to. And so for this project, when I swatch, I realized that I would need to use at least 5mm needles, and I didn't want to have 3 projects on the needles using, you know, that. So I bought this yarn. So this is Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Dark Mustard, which is again 70% mohair, 30% silk. And then I bought some Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive in the colorway Dark Ochre, which is 100% merino. And they're not quite the same colorway. The reason why I bought this yarn, I really loved how it looked on the website, really loved how it looked on the designs picture, which is the design that I want to do with this. Not as in love with it when I look at it now, especially when I did knit it up. You can see that the mohair strand is quite visible, but I still think it's gonna look really pretty. I just don't know how, like, I don't think it's the best color for me, but I'm still gonna go with it. My swatch is very tiny, I'm not on gauge, but I think I used 4.5mm, which is what the pattern recommends. I tried using 5.5mm needle to start my swatch, and it was too see-through, and I didn't like that, so I decided to swatch with 4.5mm needle to see how off gauge I was. And I think I'm either gonna go with this but knit a size up or 2 in the pattern, or I'm gonna swatch with 5mm needle later on and see how that is. But the pattern I'm thinking about, or that I know I'm going to knit with this because I really want it, I fell in love with it. It is the Tulip Loop V-neck by Other Loops. Don't love that this design has, I think it's only got 4 sizes, so don't love the lack of size inclusivity for this one. And like, for example, since I'm off gauge and I don't want to go up too many needle sizes because otherwise the fabric isn't going to be what I want, it means that I don't have that many, you know, choices to go up in pattern size. And even then I'm quite lucky because I'm quite a small person. I can go up at least 1 or 2 sizes, but other people won't be able to, which I don't love. That being said, I know it's really bad of me, but I did fall in love with design and I really want it and I really want to knit it. I wanted to buy this yarn now also because I do have 2 stockinette projects on the needle at the moment and I really want a more involved texture knit. So for the meantime, I've got my socks, but I'm hoping to finish those quite quickly and I really wanted like a sweater project that was cables or texture or something. So I was hoping to be this, but obviously can't use those needle size anyways. So I'm not gonna cast this on soon, but I'm hoping to cast this on in the spring. And yeah, I think it's gonna be really pretty. And I love the split hem detail and everything, but we're gonna talk more about that in my spring knitting plans video. Next up, we do have a very exciting yarn. I mentioned in my Make 9 videos that I would like to knit the Knit cardigan by Petit. This is a brioche pattern which is just stunning. I love a v-neck cardigan and I love brioche. I even though I'm quite a beginner knitter, I mean, I'm no longer a beginner, but I've only knit for like 2 years. I've already knit something in brioche before, back when I didn't know that brioche is something that most knitters are scared of doing or tackling. And I did a summer top in mohair in brioche, a double-stranded mohair, and I've never worn it, I've never shown it here, but I'll show it to you afterwards. And I tackled that. There were some issues with it, as you'll see, but I love the brioche. And so I bought some knitting for leaf in red, because I love red, as you can see. So this is the merino fingering version of knitting for leaf and soft silk mohair in the colorway red currant, which is, you can't really see, but this one is more of an orange red, and this one is really more of a bright regular red, but you can't see because of the light. Maybe here, I don't know, but it is stunning. I will say the silk does have some light, like a white strand in it a little bit, but I think it's gonna be fine. I swatched for this, but using leftover yarn from my Monday sweater, which was the same yarn but just in a different color. And I think it just looks, oh, I love brioche so much. I think it just looks amazing. I went up half a needle size for this, so this is 3.5mm needle instead of 3mm needle, I think. And I'm gonna stick with this needle size. I think I'm like maybe half a stitch off, or like half a centimeter off in gauge, in stitch gauge, but row gauge is fine. I mean, I just did half of the swatch, but that's okay. And yeah, so I think I might cast this on whilst I'm here, because I mean, this red, it's just gorgeous, and I really want, you know, brioche is a texture knit, so I really want to cast this on, I think. But I think this one is going to be kind of a slow project, and I would like to have it done before summer, so also that's why I want to cast this on now, so that way I can have it hopefully finished before summer and wear it. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. Before I run out of battery, we have something very important to talk about, which I completely forgot that I was supposed to mention in this video, so I'm glad I remembered. I'm going to be hosting another KAL. So last year I hosted the book club cardigan KAL, and now I'm hosting the Make It Work March KAL with Florence Miller from Handmade by Florence. This is a very exciting KAL because this isn't really about actually knitting, it's more about making your current knit work for you. So the premise of this is, if you've got a project that you've finished but you just don't wear it for whatever reason, maybe the sleeves are too short or too long, or the neckline is a bit too stretched and you want to add an elastic in but you've just not done that, or I don't know, if you've got even a finished project and you don't love the result and you just want to frog it and reuse the yarn for something else, but you just don't have the motivation to do that, maybe this KAL is for you. Whatever it is, whatever project you've got in your wardrobe that you don't actually show some love but you want to, this hopefully in March you're going to be able to do that alongside us. So this has already quite a lot of people excited. We have set up a Discord server where we're going to talk about all of the projects that we ourselves, Florence and I, are going to fix, but also all of you guys who join us are going to fix and make work for you. This is going to be a really exciting process, hopefully. I know Florence has talked about the project that she's hoping to make work for her in her last podcast, and I think she's also planning on making a video about it. I myself, I'm going to make, I think, at least one video of fixing all of my knits in March, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the knits that I'm hoping to make work for me. And yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do one video like for all of the projects at the end of March, or maybe I'll do a weekly video of the knit that I've tackled that week, because I'm hoping to fix at least 3 projects during March, one for each, like one per week. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. The first knit that I want to fix is my fluffy crop top by Leah Lickett. This is the one I was mentioning just before. This is my brioche tank top knit, knitted in mohair, that I've never worn because the bind off is too tight. So I've never even been able to try it on. I've pulled it out of the closet before I came here in Brittany, and I looked at it. I think it's gonna be too small anyway, but I think I'm gonna frog during March. I'm gonna frog the bind off, I'm gonna try it on, and I'll see if I end up frogging the whole project or if I just end up fixing the ribbing or the bind off, making it less tight so that I can actually wear it. But yeah, that's like the first project I'm gonna tackle, because this has been in my wardrobe for 2 years, or like a year and a half, and I've not even worn it once, so I'm not happy with that. The second project I'm going to tackle is one that I finished a year ago, which is actually a test knit I knit for Florence, which was the fennel seed jacket. I love that cardigan. The yarn I use is a little bit rustic, so I don't wear it a ton because it's quite warm, but also it's a little bit itchy, so I don't reach for it that much. But the main reason why is because the color I did was my first time doing a round neck color on a cardigan, and it was double knitting, and I think I picked up too many stitches, and it just doesn't look good. And every time I put it on, I'm just like, yeah, like I don't mind a knit not being perfect, but that one I'm just like, you can really see that it's not meant to look like that. So I'm hoping to fix the color. Hopefully I can manage it. So that's the second product I'm gonna tackle. And the third fix that I'm gonna do is on my Antoinette camisole, which is another test knit that I did for Sari Norden last summer, which is a really lovely summery strap camisole, v-neck. But there's one thing that I for sure want to fix, and maybe another one. The first thing is the I-cord straps are just a tiny bit too long. I ended up making them just a bit longer than I should have, and so they stretched when I blocked it, and when I wear it, it's just too deep of a v-neck, and I don't feel comfortable wearing it, so I haven't worn it except for once. So that's one thing I for sure want to fix. And the second thing I'm thinking about maybe fixing is the hem. It's a folded hem, and I just think it looks a bit weird on me. I think I would rather have it just be a regular bind off or an I-cord bind off. So, but I'm not 100%. I think I'll fix the straps for sure, and I'll wear it at least once and see how I feel about the hem. If I still think it's weird, I'll undo it and do it again. But if it's fine, then I'll just stick with it, and we'll see. But those are the 3 projects that I'm for sure gonna tackle in March. I've been putting this off for way too long, and I think it's time to show them some love. So if you'd like to join us, please do so. I will link the Discord server down below. This is going to be run on Instagram though, so I'll put it on the screen what you have to do to enter and hopefully win a prize. We've got at least 1 prize lined up. We've not announced it yet, but we're hoping to have some more, and so we'll talk about them more, I think, either at the end of February or at the during March, during the knit along. So I hope you'll join us. I'm very excited about it, and yeah, I think that's it for this podcast. I've talked a lot, and I hope that wasn't too annoying. But hopefully, if you're still here, it was fine. I'm excited to knit more on these projects and talk to you more about them in the next podcast. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.